Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Planet Coaster 2, and today we are continuing our work on Kennedy Gardens and gonna finish up this log ride, I think. So I think the goal is today to work on the interior, so all the dark ride elements I wanted to incorporate, and then wrap up some like the theming elements as well. So we got a lot of work to do here and a lot of stuff that we got to fill in these show buildings here. So without further ado, let's jump into the time lapse here. Okay, so jumping into the time lapse, first thing I think I wanted to do is I wanted to start the first part of the ride, or at least like the theming in the beginning of the ride. So beginning is, I think the idea for this area is going to be more so like you're entering into a forest and then you're not necessarily in the mill yet. So, but at some point you go up the lift hill here and then you do enter the mill. So here I'm just adding kind of a lot of nature and a lot of like trees and rivers and things like that. So that's going to be kind of the main sort of idea for this part. Getting a lot of inspiration from the Timber Mountain log ride at Knott's Berry Farm for at least like this portion of the theming. Actually, a lot of the theming is going to be inspired off of Calico or the Timber Mountain log ride. There's a lot of like, I don't know, that ride had a lot of like good indoor sort of Western theming slash mine slash like forest. I remember there's a part of the ride where you go through a forest with like a train, and I always liked that part. So it always seemed like all the animatronics are having so much fun, just like swinging on the logs and whatnot. So yeah, so I did watch plenty of POVs before diving into the dark ride part of the ride. So but I also was, if you guys don't know, this series is also, if you're new to this series or you just clicked on this video, it's also a somewhat recreation of my original Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 ride, back that when I made a long time ago. And so that ride, I think I tried to follow some of the dark ride elements, but overall it didn't really have a coherent story. So and it didn't really it wasn't like super well themed, and it was just kind of a lot of generic Western kind of stuff. So I decided to take more liberty here and add more of a storyline. And I'll explain the storyline as we go on, but it's not, I don't know, it's very generic. It's not like a whole Disney or Universal ride where they have like everything figured out perfectly. It's more of a just kind of like generic, but there is a kind of overarching storyline. Essentially what it is, I guess, I'll just start here, there is someone, or there's a couple of people trying to blow up the mill because of, I don't know, for whatever reason they want to blow up the mill with dynamite. So they have recruited you to help them in that quest to blow it up. So your job is pretty much to ride down the flume that the mill is controlling or whatever. So that's why you're in a log and you're dropping off dynamite as you go. So right here, we're starting on the outside of the mill, obviously, and you're meeting kind of all of those guys. The people that were in the tents earlier, I think, are just going to be your I don't know, like your accomplices, and they're going to help you figure out where to put the dynamite, I guess. So you're just kind of strolling around the mill, dropping dynamite as you go. So I think that's going to be kind of the theme. And then at the end of the ride, there's going to be a big explosion with a lot of dynamite, with all the dynamite you placed. But along the way, you jump into some interesting little obstacles, I'll say. So an interesting little, side quests and whatnot. So we'll get to see all of that. We got a lot of work to do. We're kind of in the 30-minute range in terms of this time lapse. So get ready for a pretty long video. And I wanted to show you everything I was doing. Sometimes I'll cut out stuff that's maybe not as interesting, but this time around I felt like everything was pretty interesting. There wasn't a lot of like copy paste. Everything I was adding was like new and fresh, and interesting. So ended up with a 30-minute time lapse, but that's okay. So yeah, here I also wanted to add some kind of triggered elements, and I figured there wasn't really a lot of like Western, because like what I would do is I would just search Western in the in like the scenery thing, and I was like having a hard time finding what I was like looking for. So I had to kind of take the liberty and make a couple animatronics. So here I have one of your people that's going to help you place all the dynamite. He's kind of riding on a log, so the log's going to come down and you're going to say hello to him. So and I was also using different types of scenery elements in this ride. Like I wasn't using just the Western theme. I was using a lot of the pirate theme, and then some of the Viking theme, I think, as well. Yeah, I was using those like primarily for all of the scenery in here, as well as like nature and these like waterfalls and a lot of other stuff too. So that's the thing with Planet Coaster is you kind of have to, you can't stick, like if you have a theme you want to do, like if you want to do Western, you have to look at all the scenery pieces, because the scenery pieces can be used for literally anything if you are creative enough and can present the scenery in a way that fits in with this surrounding theme. So there are plenty of ways to use whatever. So that's kind of important. Very important in the if you're trying to make a dark ride. And I kind of struggled with this too, because I was like, there's nothing in the Western that I need. And I was like, well, what do I want to happen? Like what do I want to look, what do I want this area to look like? And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna look through my list of scenery and see like what makes sense. So yeah, anyways, getting back to what we're building here, we're kind of just building a trough for the actual flume. I've pretty much closed out this area and we're ready to enter into the log ride. So we're out of our, sorry, not the log ride, the mill here. So we're kind of out of our indoor section where we're in the forest, and now we're entering the mill. And this is where all of the excitement happens. Actually, interesting enough, if you have been paying attention to the layout, you enter the mill and then you go around the front part where you kind of do that turnaround near the drop, the final drop, and then you come back inside, and then you actually come back down to this outside area with that drop that's kind of on the right side. So, I like to have different scenes sort of overlap each other. So like you're in one room and then you're kind of entering back into that room, but with a different perspective, and it kind of adds a little bit more kinetic energy for other views in that room. So I kind of like that. I like returning to different areas and changing the perspective. I don't know, it makes it interesting, and you save a little bit of time making that area, because it's you're not having to like rebuild a whole new area. You can kind of recycle what you have. And here I'm just using my trick of closing the area off with adding stars. So the walls have stars on them, and then the roof has stars on them as well. So it kind of gives it the illusion that it's like nighttime. And then you just come back in with lights later and light up the whole area. And with Planet Coaster's new, or Planet Coaster 2's like new, what's it called? Like lighting, indoor lighting capabilities. The indoor part is, it's like actually dark when you can keep it in light outside. So it actually holds the light inside. So light it up with standard lighting techniques that I've used in a lot of other builds. So a lot of floodlights, and I added some like light poles and stuff. Decided to keep that for the POV. So all the lighting on the inside will be more final POV. You probably saw a couple of indoor clips. I'll include a couple indoor clips at the end of the video as well. But the majority of it is going to be kind of under wraps until I release the final POV. But you're getting to see the majority of the inside. So that's I wanted to like show how this indoors was built. Sometimes I'll like keep the inside or like POVs kind of under wraps until the final POV is done. But this time around I was like, you know what? We're just gonna show them the whole shebang. So here we are. Anyways, moving on to what we're working on here is this is the drop that I was gonna make kind of a little bunny hill, but I decided to keep it straight. So that drop is actually exiting you're pretty much exiting the mill and you're kind of entering a new area. So this new area is actually, I did look back at my old POV, the old ride that this is inspired off of, that old one I made when I was 14, Splash Mine. Went back to that guy and saw that this area was like where you enter a town. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is such a good idea. So I decided to make the latter part before the drop, kind of like a western town area. And, since it's not like deserty, like I've explained before in the last episode, this is going to be more of I guess you can call it like a mill or frontier style, like final frontier style buildings, so it's all kind of wooden and logs, and like hence you're in a mill, more alpine themed, so with that being said, I decided to, I can't make it like deserty town like I had in the other POV. I had to make it more western style, alpine kind of frontier style, so that's what we're doing. But this town, oh my gosh, it was so much fun to do. I loved it. I had a lot of fun. And as you can see here, I actually kind of did a little bit of a trick where I decided that, a lot of these shops are going to be kind of just storefronts. They're not going to be like being able to look into. I wanted to have some of them be able to be looked into, but not all of them. So they didn't have to be like full on buildings. So you're just building the front facade. And I graciously was presented I guess you could say like a workshop set or whatever it's called. So what I did is that person made like a bunch of Western storefronts, and I just went on the workshop and decided to save some time and use their storefronts. So I wanted to give Sharpe, I think that's the guy's name, or person's name. That's the set I'm using here, and I think it's like Western decor. Huge help. I am so grateful for it, because if I didn't find that, I'd be spending a lot more time building these shop fronts. I can build these custom, but I was like, I just want to save some time, and I think it'll be okay if I just use someone else's work on the workshop. And my thing is, actually, I'm a lot better with doing creations when I have something to build off of. It's hard for me to start stuff from scratch. So once I have kind of a skeleton of whatever I want, or like bare bones of what I want, I can add all the details or make changes to those details as needed. So I made some adjustments to some of these buildings, like changing the color or moving the windows around, or changing the backside to have a different, to not have to be like so big, so it's just a facade. Whatever reason, it's more of just a backdrop for the actual main event, or main, I guess, kinetic energy that's happening inside the town, which we'll get to when we get to it. But I think I wanted to do is include like a train here, so I wanted a train stop, and I put the train on the back wall over here, but I thought like the town should kind of extend and wrap around this wall, because there's like a building I wanted to go through. So decided to move some of the buildings around and move the train station like right at the entrance of the town. So kind of moving the train back here, but I think it adds kind of more of a grandiose entrance when you open those gates. And if you saw the train, it's kind of like, oh, like, are we in a town, or where are we, so like, why are we at a train stop, so when those doors open for kind of like where the barrier is, I wanted it to be I wanted to show the town. So I kind of just move some of the buildings around and whatnot. So yeah, we're getting into kind of finalizing all of the town here, and I think I actually start working on this next room before I get to like the town event. The town's not done yet. We have to add a little bit more scenery with some animatronics and theming and whatnot. So we will get to that. But I think we're working on entering back into the mill here. So as the story goes, I think we're entering back in the mill. We've planted all of our dynamite. We've gone on all our side quests and adventures, and this is our chance, like getting back into the mill. So what I'm building here is kind of it's like a storage room for all of the it's like a storage room for pretty much all of the lumber and logs that have been logged, I guess. And we're just making our way through the storage room, and you'll see what happens. But pretty much I'm using the movable pieces to attach some logs on them, and then as you're going through this room, pretty much the logs are gonna like fall on top of you. So I don't know. I was kind of struggling to figure out what I wanted to put in here, because I knew this is where like you would go up into the final drop or the mill or whatever, but it took me a while to like figure out what I wanted to put here. But I figured like adding a log, kind of like logs falling on top of you, is like pretty fun. So this one actually is something I thought of myself. I didn't really get inspired off of anything. Maybe like Pirates of the Caribbean, when you're going through that last lift hill with like the fire happening. I was thinking about doing a fire too, but decided to do just like falling logs and in like a storage room or whatever. So this is like your entry back into the mill and entry back into the final drop. But this area before this, the town, that was very much inspired off of the western town in like Knott's Berry Farm, the Calico town, and also like Timber Mountain Log Ride. There's a final like logging town, I guess you go through. So I decided to make the town kind of reflective of that. My town though is a lot bigger than the town that's in Timber Mountain Log Ride. So as I was building this, I was like, ooh, how realistic would this be, I don't know if like a park of this size would really pay for all of these animatronics, but I've also been kind of trying to figure out, here you can see this is all the logs falling down with the moving platform. So but I was trying to think about what Kennedy Gardens is going to be in terms of like what they're going to serve the public. Is it going to be a highly themed park with lots of scenery and all that good stuff, or is it going to be more of like a Six Flags park that doesn't have a lot of scenery or a lot of theming, and it's just kind of generic? And I think I want it to kind of be both. This log ride I think became pretty extensive with this town, but I don't think it's like crazy themed. I would maybe equate it to, I don't know, maybe like what's that, Phantasialand and or Efteling probably. I think those would be more of the style I'm looking for. So I want to add like thrill rides. So the other ride that I showed at the beginning and with like the intro, Merlin's Revenge that we did in the last couple of episodes, recreating my old ride from back in the day. Decided to do that as like a thrill ride with a lot of theming, but this one's more gentle, definitely more theming. So I think it's going to be like a mixture of both. I've always thought like parks that can kind of add both good theming and good thrill are really great, because they kind of offer something for everybody. So for example, like Disneyland is, that is theme, scenery, and there's not a lot of thrill. Like you might get thrill with a couple of rides like the California Screamin' or Credit Coaster now, I guess. So you get a lot of rides, or you don't get a lot of rides that have a lot of thrill in Disneyland. But you go to Six Flags up the road, it's all thrill and no theme. Everything's generic and not super well themed. They have kind of like loose themes, and I think they've tried to up their theming, especially with the DC characters, and like they added that Justice League Dark Ride a while back that just wasn't very good. Six Flags, I think, definitely is the more thrill park, and it's, prevalent with all the rides that they have. But you go in between those two, and you go to Knott's Berry Farm, and Knott's Berry Farm has good thrill, like Supreme Scream and Accelerator and Silver Bullet and Ghost Rider, but they also have incredible theming. So they have Ghost Town, right? Calico Mine Ride, like we talked about, and the what's it called? The Calico Mine Ride, like the train that goes around the park. All that stuff is, even like the boardwalk's like pretty well themed. So like the theming and the thrill kind of go hand in hand, and I think it's like perfect. I would even argue that in terms of like overall vibe and theme park experience, like Knott's Berry Farm definitely has Disney for a run for its money for sure. I think Knott's it doesn't have like the budget obviously for what Disney can do. I feel like if they did, they probably would, but now that Six Flags and Knott's are owned by the same company, though, I'm worried that Knott's is going to get kind of left for dead in terms of holding up the standard that they've been able to hold up the past like 20 years. So worried about that, but I think it'll be fine. I'm not sure how this merger is going to work. But anyways, back to what we were working on. So the final scene that we're having in the town, well, this is like the second to last scene, or third to last scene, pretty much. So the town is pretty much, I guess the story goes that you have to go through the town to go to the mill to light the dynamite. But when you get to the town is like, I don't know. The town is, there's a big gunfight, so I'm having a lot of gun animatronics like shooting at each other. So the guys in the cowboy hats are pretty much going to be, I guess, the people on your side that are trying to infiltrate the mill and burn it down for whatever corporate greed reason. I didn't really think about it too much. And the guys in the red coats are like the town officials or the people working for the mill. I don't know, people from the government. I don't know. There's probably a whole backstory I can write about it, but we're not quite there yet. I know that the people in the red coats is not I guess is not period specific, but like I said, you gotta make other scenery pieces from other sets kind of work. So the red coats are more or less like the enemy, so it's kind of easy to see like who these people are fighting with. But yeah, so that's the town you go through. This is my favorite part. I also like the barrel that kind of runs back and forth that has the people shooting on the top. So I thought that was like super cool. I guess it's sort of like I don't know, just like a trolley rope that goes across, and then adding all the trees here. And once I added all the trees and the sand and all the kinetic energy and all the people fighting each other, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I was very pleased with how the town turned out. And I got so excited about that, I almost forgot to work on the area outside of the town, which is also something I struggled with. I was like, I don't really have an idea for this area. I'm not really sure like what it could be. So I decided that once you have that drop down from the mill, you enter like a secret cave where you're trying to escape, I guess, because in the mill you were trying to drop dynamite, and now you got to escape and go around again for whatever reason. I don't know. But I figured like a cave would look really cool. So and this is where I grabbed these stalagmites or stalactites or whatever they're called, the glowing ones from the Source Reset, and it worked so perfectly. I was like, these are so cool, they light up. I almost wanted to make more scenes with this. I think adding more of a cave vibe would have been cool, but it's not like a mountain that you're kind of traveling through, it's more of a mill, so it's like wooden buildings and stuff. But I also wanted to have a cave because caves are cool, and they make for good log ride elements, like Splash Mountain, Timber Mountain log ride are all kind of in a mountain cave. So but that was done a lot before, so this is kind of fresher, I guess, because you're not kind of primarily going through cave, but I wanted to pay homage to log rides traveling through caves, I guess. I don't know. So But yeah, so we're kind of wrapping up the actual outside building here. There is, yeah, so like this is just, yeah, so adding more to the theme, like you're coming into the town with like barrels of dynamite ready to blast everyone off into oblivion, I suppose. So, but yeah, so I think we're kind of starting to get to the end of the time lapse. I think the last couple things we got to do is finalize the log wood storage area. So we're gonna add a roof onto this guy, and then we're gonna do the lift hill, and then I think once we get the lift hill done, we're gonna close this puppy off with my star roof hack, and then we'll be done. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. I definitely think we have a couple more minutes here, so we'll just like wrap up. But I'm excited for this this series. Like I said, this series is probably gonna be a kind of hodgepodge of my old rides that I made in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, so you will be seeing more revival of these rides for sure. So you're going to be seeing more of those old videos. I think I've been going through, and I think there's a couple of ones that are going to work well for this park, and I was also thinking like this park needs to have a couple of its own rides, you know, not related to the old, the old rides that I made in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. I think there's a lot more value here, or there's a lot more that needs to be kind of tied together with not just old rides being recreated, but there has to be more like to tie everything together. I can't just recreate everything. I have to fill in the blanks here and there. So we're definitely gonna be doing that, but I think we're gonna have at least one more episode of Splash Mill here. We're gonna have kind of the exterior, and I'm gonna make more of a western town around the entrance. I still gotta build the actual ride, like loading platform as well. So we're gonna do that as well. And figured, back into the video here. Also, wanted to share this little trick. So I. As part of the ride, one of the things is like you're gonna set off dynamite, right? Like I've been saying, and this area is actually the finale where you go up and you actually blow up the mill. I wanted to add kind of because in dynamite they put that string down. I guess I don't know what it's called, a wick or something, and then they light it up and it has that like sound, So what I did here is I just added some candles on a moving platform, and then the candles are kind of imitating that string that's lighting up. So as you're going up the hill, the dynamite's being lit up, obviously, and then you can kind of see the string of string being lit up, and as it's approaching like pieces of dynamite. So in this final, this is like right before the final drop. So in the final drop, or right before it, I have some like those like pirate barrel cans, or they're like barrel cans from the pirate set or whatever. Those get like lit up or they explode. So then I have like a little bit of explosion. I think I might have talked about that in like one of the first episodes, or in the last episode. So yeah, and now we're to the most satisfying part, which is adding all of the star walls and closing off this area. So yeah, had a good time building this guy. I am really happy that I was able to actually get this done pretty quickly too. Thanks again for Sharpe on the workshop. I'll add his workshop ID for this specific set. Thank you so much for providing the facades, because you saved me a lot of time. And I don't think there's anything wrong with like using other people's work, as long as you kind of make it your own and incorporate it into your park in your own way, not just like copying pasting everything. I think it's important to also build your own stuff, but provide credit where credit is due. So but yeah, this is the most satisfying and my favorite part, because once you go under there, it's like all of your hard work is closed off and it looks amazing. Decided to so all the lighting on the inside, you'll get to see it in the final POV. But yeah, so yeah, like I said, next time I think we're gonna finish off Splash Mill, and then after that we're gonna go work on to bigger, greater, and better things, I suppose. So, or new projects. So anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.